Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Business Casual Basketball Podcast. It's been a minute, but I'm glad to be back with you guys on the mic for another episode. 144 is coming at you right now. This is going to be about Randle winning Most Improved Player just a few days ago. And then also, we're going to be talking about a few of the first-round matchups and kind of what we have in mind as far as potential outcomes, how things have been going so far, as far as the most compelling matchups in the first round. Joining me on the mic here, my good buddy, Corbin Ford. He, is very involved in the podcast game. He's got a few podcast projects of his own. Loves to talk ball. Loves Russell Westbrook, which we'll be getting to here in a minute. That's his guy. He's hitting the news for a variety of reasons right now, so we're going to touch on those for sure. But glad to have you back on, Corbin. Thanks for taking your time, man. Excited to talk ball with you once again on the pod.
Hey, man, I'm always happy to be on here. Thank you. It's fun.
Sir. For sure. So before we get started, of course, we have a few sponsors for Unwrapped Sports that we like to shout out for every episode. Over at teespring.com, we have some apparel that you guys can check out, /store/unwrapped at the ticker down at the bottom of the screen. So I have my t-shirts available if you guys want to check out Business Casual Basketball. Some of the other podcasts have some apparel as well for you guys to check out, accessories. So be sure to look over there at Teespring and get yourself some apparel if you'd like to support our podcast and the projects we have going on right now for Unwrapped Sports. Also, we have a VIP program for Unwrapped Sports over at patreon.com. So we have 3 different tiers that allows you guys to get involved with us on a variety of levels, some exclusive chats, and you can potentially be entered to win some signed memorabilia if you guys are interested in that. So if you guys like what we have going on here at Unwrapped Sports, be sure to look at supporting us potentially on Patreon. We'd greatly appreciate your support in any way you can just help us keep things going over here. Also, we have mybookie.ag. So if you're looking to get into betting and this is your first time, USN100 is the code you're going to use to get a 100% sign-up bonus. So that's going to double your first deposit, allow you guys to get in on the betting game. The playoffs are in full swing. I know some of y'all want to bet on some of these series. A lot of these are going to be super competitive and go down to the wire, so a lot of money to be made here. If you'd like to get down on that action, be sure to use that link down at the bottom of your screen there. Lastly, we have RX Hemp. RX Hemp-USN is going to be your code to use for 10% off your entire order. So if you guys want to get some of the recovery cream going, if you're trying to get back into athletics, if you need some, something to help you get rejuvenated and get back on the court, the field, whatever the case may be, those are the people you're going to want to see their products if you want to get, a little bit rejuvenated as you get back into your sporting activities. So that link is going to be down there at the bottom for the duration of the pod. But now that we kind of have that addressed, Corbin, it's time to look at Julius Randle winning Most Improved Player. 2 of the awards have been announced so far. Jordan Clarkson winning 6th man, of course. That was a super cool gesture by Joe Ingles and those guys to kind of present him with the trophy on live television. That was so cool to see. And then Randle was a little bit more low key, but he did win Most Improved Player just the other day. I'm sure you're in agreement with me on this one, man. Seeing the guys win these awards with the team, and hopefully some of these guys can hoist the award, hoist the trophy in front of their home fans. That's just the coolest thing, and I'm glad that it's back for this season. As opposed to the award show. I'm not the biggest fan of that. A lot of people are not. I can see that you're not either. But it was just really cool to be able to see Randle win it. When you see these guys win it, it's a little more personal. It hits a little bit better when these guys are winning it in the kind of the confines of their fans and their teammates. It's a really cool gesture.
It is. I completely agree. I think that you went from the award show, which kind of felt forced. You definitely had the joke reel wasn't the greatest. Any players didn't feel comfortable on that stage, and it felt so detached from the fans, from the team that really helped these players, to a certain extent, get to where they are in the confines of team success. The players are the first to thank the fans and the first to thank their teammates. So what better way to do that than to go back to the formula that works so well, especially when you have, the MVP being able to hoist the trophy, in front of their home fans. I mean, some of the biggest moments are so awesome with that. As a Westbrook fan, I wish that happened with Russell Westbrook and the OKC Thunder, just knowing that fan base. But yeah, it's just really cool to see that. Like you said, the Utah Jazz, that was really cool having Jaron Clarkson get presented by, fellow 6th man of the year candidate and friend Joe Ingles, Julius Randle low key. Like you said, it restores that sense of, I don't even want to say like fan support and love, but just that entire full circle of the fruits of our labor in front of the fan base and teammates that support you all year. And, to the NBA, it's kind of like, okay, maybe we should go back to if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because nobody complained about it beforehand.
Exactly. I hope this is like a clear sign for the league that we love these personal interactions. I go back and I think about Derrick Rose winning MVP and hosting that trophy in front of Chicago, LeBron, all these guys doing the same. Like, it just kind of brings back those memories and just how great that was to see these guys do it. And I think these guys deserve to do it in front of their home fans. And then the other part of this we got to look at is the fact that the award show is pushed out past the conclusion of the season. So by that point, people kind of lose interest in the awards. We kind of moved on to the off-season news. We're not thinking about this season anymore. We've already shifted our focus to what's coming for next season. So if they go back to this format, things happen kind of in the moment. The emotions are still running high. Their seasons that we just finished, regular seasons, are still fresh in our minds. So we really need to have this back kind of in the moment so we can really hang on to that a little bit longer and we're not shifting our focus to next season. But with Randle specifically, I think he was well deserving of this reward because you're looking at what he improved upon from last season. And it was similar to what we saw from Brandon Ingram last year, just the monumental increase in efficiency from all across the floor. The shooting numbers are insane. I mean, this guy shot 29% last season from three. He jumped to 41% in one season. I mean, those are the kind of jumps you don't see very often. And it really only happens when, somebody is just locked in. And it goes to show you how much work he put in the offseason. He really wanted to be a better player. And New York is better for it as a whole. I just love that for him.
They are. And you're right. He improved across the board. He had solid numbers last year. It was like, I want to say 19-6-3, just kind of decent numbers. And then to explode to, 24, 10, and 6. I mean, flash that all around playmaking, flash that much improved 3-point stroke. Like you said, it was on and off the years preceding that. Not really much of a 2-point shooter, then more volume, 27%. And then this year, 41 on a robust amount. It's just, It's great to see someone, like you said, compared to Brandon Ingram, put the work in plus opportunity and look what they're able to do. And even more so, the fact to kind of go back to what you said about the award show, you're giving him to him right now in front of that New York fan base where it was so electric. I mean, I noticed you commented on the crowd. It was fire. And
was so cool,
you have a situation where you do on the award show months later down the road, you don't have that fan interaction. You don't, maybe the season ended sourly and it's not the same. Whereas right now it's continued, that momentum is still in play. It's totally different. And so this was dope, especially for New York, for Randle. I've always been a Randle fan since he played for my Lakers. So, it's really cool to see him kind of flourish an all-around skill set that I'm not going to lie and say I saw this in him. I really did. And I saw him like a really good, like Zebo, like double-double type machine. Did not see that outside stroke. Did not see that playmaking. This kind of just all-around guy that he is, the hub of that Knicks team. But, it's just really cool. And like you said, you put the work in, you have the results, and they've come through in a major way for Randle.
Oh, yeah. And you touched on his frequency from three. That's the other thing we got to think about. It's not just like he took 2 threes a game and hit 1 of 2 every game. I mean, this is a guy that's going out there launching. He took difficult 3-pointers, difficult jump shots. His frequency from last season is up 7% from three. So he's taking almost a third of his shots from three now. It's really incredible to see him maintain that kind of efficiency while taking so many shots from a distance of 27 feet and beyond from the basket. His rim frequency was down quite a bit from last season. He only shot 23% of his shots at the rim. Almost 50% of his shots came from two, which is really incredible for a guy that kind of made a living at the basket. But it just goes to show you, like, if you're nearing the prime of your career and you have enough, you care enough about your game and how you're going to bring your team forward, that you're going to go out there and almost radically change the way you play, but be a better player for it and be a better, just more efficient all around. That's really incredible. And I think only the best players can do that. You just completely change your style of play and it benefits you to that degree. It's just really incredible, man.
Exactly.
So if we're looking at Randle's performance from these 2 games against the Hawks, definitely leaves a little bit to be desired. Last night, we kind of saw what he was able to do against Atlanta, and he really struggled, from the field. And Atlanta, give them credit. They had a great game plan when it comes to how they're going to D up Julius Randle. But last night, 15 points, only shot 5 of 16 from the field, 3 or 4 from the free throw line. Did chip in 12 rebounds and 4 assists, but also had 4 turnovers. So in this series, I think it's, Atlanta is really forcing him to be more of a jump shooter, but now the shots aren't quite going in, and he's not able to get comfortable. I don't think this is any kind of indictment on his case for most improved. I mean, that's a regular season award. He completely earned it. There's no doubt about that. But if New York wants to go to the next level, he has to be better. I will say that some of those shots he took last night are definitely in his wheelhouse. He can make those. He has demonstrated an ability to make those normally. But,
Yeah.
With Atlanta throwing guys like DeAndre Hunter at him consistently, John Collins, athletic long guys, it definitely makes Randle kind of work a little bit more. And I think he's going to be fine in this series. I think going forward, I think he's going to be better. I think he knows he has to be better for the Knicks to have even a chance. But I think it really speaks to the quality of this team that they were able to win last night, even though he still struggled and he didn't really even get any kind of rhythm going until the second half of the game.
True, and like you said, a lot of that assessment to the other Knicks. Derrick Rose playing 39 minutes, which is, he even said after the game, a lot of people, myself included, didn't think he could kind of do those types of minutes again. 26 big points for him. You get Reggie Bullock kind of come through. Yet other guys step up in major ways. And I was thinking, this is Randle's first time in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's been in the league for a minute, but it's been on teams like the Lakers when they were bad, the Pelicans after their playoff appearance, so things like that. So he hasn't really had this opportunity before. So I think he's realizing now it's a different game, and even I am shocked by the level to which the Hawks have more or less hampered Randle. I definitely didn't see him that way, especially seeing what he averaged against them, looking back at some of the games and just seeing they had no answer matchup wise. But they've really done a good job of making things comfortable all the way, and some of it. I thought he forced a lot less of the issue in this game too than last game, but he is taking shots at okay, maybe you could pass that out. Okay, they're draped all over you. Understanding that, yes, you can be the central point of the team's offense. You can still be the same player that you were all season, but maybe do it differently. Maybe rely on other guys is going to be just integral to the Knicks' success moving forward. And I think that what you just mentioned, seeing other Knicks step up, maybe that's a hint to Randle that, okay, the formula is there where I can still get mine, but maybe by feeding off my teammates instead of vice versa.
Exactly. And, in this series, I think it's vital for him to demonstrate that playmaking role that he's shown throughout the season. Assist percentage up at 27% for the season, which is the 97th percentile if we're looking at basically his position in the NBA. So he's become one of the best playmaking forwards in the game over the course of the season, which is really impressive. And I think the Hawks are forcing him to lean into that skill a little more than he would like. He's a great passer. He's capable of making reads out of the double teams. But, for last night, he was just constantly blitzed. I think they didn't even let him kind of try to get his feet set or really get a good look at who's available on the weak side. And as a result of that, he was rushed. A lot of his passes were kind of inaccurate. His shots were forced. I think all night he was just kind of sped up to a rate that he is not really accustomed to, and that he didn't want to operate exactly. He wanted to be more methodical with his moves than the Hawks would allow him to. So, kudos to Atlanta for that game plan. And if we're looking at this series as a whole, I think Atlanta has a great chance to take this. Looking at Trae Young, the performance he's had over the past few games, Bogdanovich is on one. This guy has been one of the best shooters over the course of the last probably 30 games or so. Capella, you got to give him a lot of credit, being one of those great rim protectors. I think across the board, Atlanta has a few more weapons and a few more ways to win than New York does. Looking at the way that Atlanta can, dominate on the defensive end, as they've shown with Randle, but then also be able to be an incredible shooting force on offense. So I think that gives them the edge. But I'm curious to hear what you think about this series, because I think if you go and ask people and you really split this up into a poll, you're going to get almost a 50-50 split on who's going to win. And it's really how competitive this thing is from the tip to the end of the game.
That's true. I was mentioning the No Trade Clause podcast I was listening to yesterday and how it was split, and talking to friends of mine as well. It's kind of all over. This is the definition of the 4-5 matchup, having that kind of crapshoot. But in this case, even in my own opinion, I came out and said I think Knicks in 6. My predictions were, and now already I'm just readjusting on the fly, because I did not think that the Hawks would be able to hold Julius Randle in check that much. And if you take that into consideration, then all of a sudden the whole series kind of flips on the axis, because, okay, the Knicks' greatest single advantage is somewhat mitigated. So now you have to realize that Atlanta's offense wasn't going anywhere, and it was never in question. You were giving, myself included, a lot of, let's say, respect to the Knicks' defense, but like you mentioned, it's a high-powered Hawks offense right now. The Gallinari's going off. You already mentioned Bogdanovich shooting just the lights out the ball. Trae Young has not been stopped by any such imagination by the Knicks over the first 2 games. And that was in Madison Square. Like going back to the A, as he said. So what's going to happen there with the friendly confines of home, where role players are going to shoot and perform better? DeAndre Hunter, like guys like that, like what's going to happen then? And I think that is going to be something it's a fight, The Knicks showed a lot of fortitude. I'm going to give them some credit. Come back from a major deficit, 15 points or so, in that first half, to then come back, take a lead and hold on to win. So you definitely look at them as a team that's going to play hard all the way to the end, regardless situation. Testaments of a Tibbs coach team. But but like you said, like this is my eyes starting to trend back toward the Hawks because their offense is something else. I'm just shocked. Like I didn't realize their defense is going to be so surprising. Their defense is the story, but their offense hasn't gone away.
Not at all. Not at all. It's definitely translated to a postseason environment. And I really hate that I'm not going to be able to go see the Hawks once they come to Atlanta here in the next few days. Those ticket prices are just too much for me, man, right now.
I feel that.
The truth of the matter.
I feel that, man. People got plans. Got to save.
Yep. I looked it up the other day, and it was pushing 200 just for the upper level tickets, just to try to get in there. So I was like, you know what? I might have to take the L this time. And see what's going on next season.
There you go. Bounce back. They'll be back.
Yeah, for sure. This is I think this is the first in a string of playoff appearances because this team, we forget sometimes, this is a pretty young squad. Bogdanovich is a little bit older at 27 years old, but Trae Young, he's definitely, this is a third year. He's still kind of like finding his way along. DeAndre Hunter, second-year player. Cam Reddish hasn't played at all in the past 20, 30 games. He's a major piece for this team. John Collins, fourth year. So across the board, these guys are learning on the fly. And I think it's very encouraging for their future growth that they're starting to figure it out this early. Of course, it's 1-1. There's still a long way to go. But, Trae Young is not fazed by the hate. The New York crowd, that's one of the most brutal crowds, fan bases that you can encounter in the NBA, aside from maybe Philadelphia. We're going to get to them in a minute. But overall, it's just some brutal environments out there, man. So if you can deal with New York, you're good anywhere. You're definitely on the right track. So I love the amount of mental focus, mental strength that Atlanta's demonstrated so far. And I think it's a great indicator on how they're going to perform going forward. As they go into more, hostile environments, as, there's a target on their back, the people know they're a team to be reckoned with. And I just love the way that McMillan has kind of grounded this team. I'm not sure how his style is going to translate over time. Sometimes these coaches can kind of wear down players over time. But I think in a small sample like this, like half of a season into the playoffs, McMillan is a perfect fit. He is very disciplined. He puts guys in their spots, defensive oriented, which is exactly what this team needed. So they're going to be good, I think, for this season, probably even next season too, because these young guys are not going anywhere. They're just going to continue to learn the game and get even better.
It's really exciting. I think the theme of the playoffs is look at all this young talent out there that we're going to see years of like just great moments and spectacular performances to come. And the Hawks are one shining example because you're right. They're here. They are here.
They're here, man. They have arrived. And, it's unfortunate last night that, Trae Young had to encounter a fan that apparently, if you're looking at the camera real closely, seemed to spit on him from the stands. Just really an unacceptable kind of situation that he had to deal with. And then if we're looking at the situation in Philadelphia last night, it was pretty similar. One bad egg, one bad fan just kind of ruins it for a lot of people. And it's unfortunate that, as soon as fans are back in arenas, we have to deal with this all over again. It seems like every season, it happens. And it's unfortunate that your guy Westbrook has to take the brunt of this like all the time. Like
all the time. We
go back to I think it was that series that I think they played the Jazz a few years ago in the playoffs, and I think there was fans giving him a hard time over there. Like I get it. Maybe you're not a Westbrook fan. Maybe you're not a real big supporter of him, but there's no reason why you should be crossing the line, disrespecting him and throwing food at him and calling him whatever names. I don't care what you think of him. You just can't cross that line. And it's really unfortunate because your man Westbrook, he's a marvel, man. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best to ever play this game. He rubs people the wrong way, but he doesn't deserve this much hate, man. Just let him know what's up with Westbrook and exactly what he's bringing to this series, because he's one of a kind, man. He don't deserve this.
Thank you. Aaron, you're speaking my language, man. I'm telling you right now, like seeing the hate, yes, divisive player. Yes, field goal percentage. We could pick turnovers. Okay, if you want to call stat padding, whatever you want to call it, what he's done, and I'm a firm believer in this. If everyone else could do it, everyone else would do it.
Right.
There's an era where triple doubles have become increasingly easier to get if you want to look at it that way, and yet he's still the only one doing that. So, miss me with all that. But second of all, I mean, it's sad that it's coming on the heels of through 2 games. He did say post game that he had twisted his ankle on Korkmaz for Korkmaz's leg, like he twisted it. But he says he alluded that it was the second time it's been injured now. So that would lead one to believe that he had injured it before. I hadn't seen it, but during the game, whatever, which might explain some of his performance because he's not had a good playoff series so far. With the Wizards shooting 33% from the field, not making a 3, and he's still attempting them. I think it was 0 for 5 in game 1 or 2. So he's been out of that. His shot's kind of gone away from him. He doesn't have the explosiveness. And the togetherness from the team from that position with him not being as impactful has suffered. I mean, they just got the doors blown off in Philadelphia, last night. And then a couple of nights ago, they lost in a hard fought where, sadly, it felt like they had really given Philadelphia their best shot. Granted, Westbrook could have been a lot more efficient, but they kind of put all their, that 8th seed kind of boomed into a punch, and the Philadelphia 76ers were able to withstand it. But to go back to Westbrook, I mean, even this year, he caught a lot of flack earlier. Meanwhile, he's playing with the torn quad, comes back in, he's playing back-to-backs, which he hadn't done the year before in Houston. And then all of a sudden you go from a team that was just in the bottom, just totally, I think they were like 17 and 20-something, 26 or whatever. They turned around and go 17-6, second half, lose that first playing game. Russ didn't play very well. He bounces back in a major way. They do here now. It's like when he's playing horrible, everyone is quick to jump on, and down the guy. And then when he's playing well, you get some respect here and there, but it's never matching the intensity and ferocity of the hate that he gets when he's playing bad. And I get it. Like, he's played the same way. If anything, he's like proving detractors wrong while still being him, which is good and bad because players said, or people said his style has to change. And it hasn't changed. And you can see kind of the detriment to what happens when it doesn't change and he's kind of running into a brick wall. But at the same time, he's still accomplishing these feats. He did his first one 2017, triple-double season. Now he's 32. This is 4th one. I'm just saying, like, at a certain point, he's supposed to fade away early 30s. He's still here. So the fact that you can even make a conversation, not even a strong one possibly, I mean, although I would try, but the fact you even make a conversation for All-NBA in this year with the plethora of people that are available that are more deserved to get it, but just the fact that he can even be in the conversation is a testament to just how well he's played overall, despite the rough shooting, despite that. Look at Washington. I mean, you can't say he wasn't a big reason for the success making the playoffs after 3 years of not.
Yeah. Major piece. Like a guy like that comes in, he's going to influence winning. He's definitely going to get you more W's than L's when it comes to, the season before, he really lifted his team up another level, even though he has been a little bit kind of beat up and banged up this season. I think he had a quad injury earlier in the season, which is why he started slow. He gained his footing, and it reinforces that. I think it was like a picture or a graph or something on Twitter where it's like, they have like all the months next to each other. It's like December through like April or May or something. And it's like, they do a little like line. It's like, okay, for this period of time, it's like Westbrook is the worst player ever. And then it's like, and then it's like a little piece and it's like, oh, what's going on here? What's this? And then there's another like part of the end of the season. It's like Westbrook is the best player ever. And then if the playoffs in, it's just like, you just see that face and it's just like, I don't know about this. And it's unfortunate. Like, I really hate that the graph is kind of like seem to be true again. But I think with the shooting deficiencies that Westbrook has, I think it's just insurmountable when it comes to the postseason setting because people scheme for it, especially when you're going against a team like Philadelphia. Like, they're one of the better defensive teams you're going to encounter in the entire league. Thibault is out here making life rough for them. I think it was like 5 steals and 4 blocks in 19 minutes last night, which defies every expectation you can have from even a defensive specialist. That shouldn't even be possible. It seems like he was trying to accomplish one of those My Team goals. And if he was playing, My Team in 2K, where it's like, go get 5 blocks in 20 minutes or something. It's just like, and
you spam the block button.
Yeah, he was, he was like doing everything he could just to make life absolutely terrible on the Wizards last night. But I'm looking at his numbers and I'm like, man, it's sad to see. 6 rebounds, 11 assists, that's great. But you can't shoot, 2 for 10, miss all your threes, miss 4 free throws, and, expect to be good against a team like the Sixers, because it's not like they have another guard to come in here and pick up the slack. Shout out to Ish Smith. He's had a great few months here. Great season. The
Yeah.
play, he was great. He's still a blur on the court. He's one of the fastest guys out there. I love his game, honestly, but he cannot come in and pick up the slack that a guy like Westbrook is leaving out there. It's just not going to work.
No.
But I do want to kind of flip the script and give some credit to Philadelphia. They're taking care of business. They're the number 1 seed. They should be doing this. Embiid is just, a different animal. I don't really know what else you could say about him. But another guy that gets a lot of hate, like Westbrook, and he deserves more credit, Ben Simmons, man. He's out here stuffing the stat sheet. There ain't triple doubles out here, but he's still, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. He had 15 and 15 in game 1, rebounds and assists, which I didn't even know about until last night. That was really insane.
Same.
He was even efficient from the field. So I think Simmons understands where Westbrook is coming from as far as the hate, but he's quieted the haters over the past couple of games. He's been sensational, and I think he just adds another dimension to that Sixers defense, which is sometimes impenetrable. It's really just a marvel.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. I mean, again, someone that you said is it kind of gets a lot of flack. He doesn't fit like basically what people would envision a guy with his talents probably would fit in terms of, being aggressive, scoring the ball, shoot from all levels, all that. But at the same time, he impacts winning. And he even said at the post game, I think it was post game of yesterday, or maybe it was game 1, that like, what do you want me to do? Or you want us to win, right? Like, I'm doing what we can to win. Like, that's kind of the goal. So if the stat sheet doesn't look ideal to your eye, but I get the W, then for him, that's all that really matters. And that is what is important. I mean, he's a matchup problem for Utah. I mean, not Utah. He's a matchup problem for Washington in general. I'm thinking John Morant matchup problems. But anyway, he's a matchup problem for Washington in general, because remember, they start basically 3 guards. I mean, you have Bradley Beal playing small forward. You have Raul Neto at 6'3", along with Russell Westbrook at 6'3" in your backcourt. Yeah. And then Rui Hachimura and, Robin Lopez, Alex Len, Daniel Gafford, usually Alex Len starting. So you're already kind of disadvantaged there on who defends Simmons on the other side. But when he's not even looking to score, even though he does have the advantage to post up and do that, that makes him more dangerous because he is impacting the boards. He is making impact in playmaking. He's making it available for Seth Curry to thrive and worry about just shooting. Danny Green, shooting. Tobias Harris, putting the ball in the basket. Another matchup issue for Washington. So, yeah, the fact that he's able to impact the game in that many ways, and yes, it doesn't look as conventional as some would like. I've been like, wow, I mean, I don't know if I picked him first, second, whatever the case it may be, but like you can't understate the talent that the guy has. And that just is what it is. I think in some ways he is much like Westbrook in the sense that, he's different in Westbrook in the sense that he just won't shoot it. Different roles entirely in that sort of respect, but like, yeah, they both don't have a shot, but like Russell still believes he does, so he still go on and take that shot, despite all evidence to the contrary, where Ben will just avoid the basket with just the complete opposite of what you would think is an aggressive mentality. But it's not like he's not impacting the box score. And defensively, I mean, you see the work he's done on Bradley Beal over the last game and a half.
Yeah, and it's really just incredible what these guys are capable of without a shot. I think you really have to be a special basketball player to go out here and still shoot 70% from the field and stuff the stat sheet and everything else, despite not having a 3 or even like a mid-range. Ben Simmons may occasionally hit like a turnaround jumper, from like 10 feet or something. That's nice, every once in a while. But yeah, overall, I mean, these Swiss Army knives in the NBA, I mean, they deserve a lot of credit. I think points get a lot of glory and praise. Look no further than Jordan Clarkson. He went on here and got buckets, and that's pretty much what's required if you want to win either a lot of times Rookie of the Year or Sixth Man of the Year is just straight buckets. But we forget there's a lot of other areas of basketball where you need to make a contribution, if you want to be one of the better players in this league. So Ben Simmons, Westbrook, they get that. They do that on a nightly basis. It's just in this instance, one guy's on the winning side. He has some better teammates. And then Westbrook, like you said, Raul Neto and Beal and those guys in the backcourt, I mean, that's just so – they really got to address that in the offseason, man. That's just too small of a backcourt. And I get they have some injuries and stuff, but that's just brutal, especially against the Sixers. Like that is a terrible matchup, for being honest. That's just something to deal with, man. But you alluded to this earlier. It's funny that you mentioned Utah and John Morant because that's actually what I had in mind as far as what I wanted to talk about next with you. So you're on point today, man. You're reading my mind.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. But when it comes to that series, I wanted to discuss that one because, of course, that was also on last night. We got a glimpse on what Utah had for a response. Right off the bat, Donovan Mitchell back in the lineup. that helps a real huge amount. Having him to put pressure on the basket, be another kind of pull-up three specialist for that team. And then also somebody else that Memphis has to account for on the other end. You can't put Dylan Brooks on like Conley anymore, or Joe Ingles or Jordan Clarkson. He has to guard Donovan Mitchell. He has to account for him. So it shifts lineups, it shifts the perspectives for these teams. And overall, it was really cool to see last night, not only Utah have this recipe for success to hold off the Memphis run, but the fact that Memphis was able to make a run in general. I had that No Trade Clause podcast last night. I finished it up. I go to the game. It's a 20-point game at halftime. I'm like, well, that's probably a game already, whatever. I kept watching because in the NBA, comebacks are a lot more common than they were before. And wouldn't you know it, they cut it to a 5-point game with like 3 minutes left in the third quarter. So a big part of that was John Morant, the next coming of the semi like a Derrick Rose type player, just ridiculous athleticism. But it's really cool to just see Luka, Trae Young, and then John Morant assert themselves in the playoffs with limited experience. And we're spoiled. That's the moral of the story. John Morant, 40, was it 47?
47.
47. Oh my gosh, man. Like
47, man.
That's a stud right there. I love it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he attacked relentlessly. Like you said, there's shades of a young Derrick Rose in the way he gets to the rim, so explosive, the craft there. Early in the game, he went up for a tomahawk, got just denied, completely obliterated by Gobert. Didn't matter, kept doing it again. In the third quarter, was it the fourth, he finished a reverse alley-oop over the head.
That was sick.
It was so sick in the flow of the game. And I'm like, did he just casually, I guess I might as well spin around. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy's something else. And like you said, to go back to that plethora of young talent, Luka doing work in Dallas in 22. And I've seen this on Twitter a few times. I have to say it again. What is he going to be at 26?
God,
jeez.
NBA is in trouble, man. The other 29 teams are in trouble.
Oh my gosh. Exactly. And then, like you said, it's in trouble. And then, you have Ja doing what he's doing. You have, Trae doing what he's doing. One can hope, Zion didn't make the playoffs, but toward the end of the season, being that point forward, wreaking havoc, bringing the ball up, doing playmaking. What can he continue to grow into, with better supporting cast and, a roster that makes some sense on the court? These guys that are coming in now are just, the next wave is here. And it's crazy to see. And you're already having your wake-up moments come out moments, like right now. Trae Young in the guard, that's something they're going to remember. 2-0 over the Clippers. And if Luka and them can finish the job, that's going into the legend of Luka. Seeing what John Morant's doing right now. Yeah, it's wild. But for Utah and Memphis, I think that Memphis is happy that they're able to do what, probably was the goal. Go into Utah, come out 1-1. Take it back to the not the grindhouse anymore. Take it back to Memphis, see what happens. And they're doing well. I mean, the fact that Ja was still able to get his points, through the flow of the game, the fact that they were able to come and put multiple rallies, and that Utah, yes, being the superior team, were able to kind of put them away, kind of keep them at bay each time. But the fact that Memphis had that resiliency, and I think it was said on the broadcast a little bit ago, like they're too young to know better, and it's funny to hear that, but no, they're a young team that believes, and look what that's going out and bearing fruit.
Yeah, John Morant is a prime example of what it looks like when not only you have that resiliency you touched on, but also the basketball IQ to make things happen, even when a team like Utah, who's very disciplined, very well coached, one of the better defensive teams in this league, they can't stop him. So, Rudy Gobert had that block that you touched on. But aside from that, I mean, this man was getting to the rim almost at will. A lot of guys on Twitter, Shane Young, Jackson Frank, these guys will show a lot of film on John Morant, and they all say the same thing about him. His prowess in the pick and roll and the way he times his drives, he knows how to leverage that speed already, the stop and go. He knows when to explode, when to kind of be more patient, when to kind of survey the floor. The fact that he has that down already is really cool to see. And that's part of the reason why he exploded last night, because when you combine this kind of athletic, just unreal athleticism with that kind of basketball IQ, the knowledge of the game, you can see the floor at that level, you're borderline unstoppable. He even had a 3-point shot in the play-in game. I think it was against the Warriors. Just the whole package is coming together in his second season, which is really incredible. And that whole Memphis team should be excited Still really young, like the Hawks. They still have a lot of growing left to do. And I think the guy that has the most growing to do still is Jaron Jackson. He's still foul prone. He's still a little bit unsure of like when to be aggressive, and he doesn't have that balance like John Morant has yet, even though he has another year of experience. So when he figures it out and he becomes a two-way force that's raining threes, Memphis is in a great position. So I think I picked Utah to win, I want to say in 6 games, but man, this is going to be, or I think it was maybe actually 5 games. But either way, man, Memphis is going to be here. They already got 1 game. I wouldn't be surprised if they take 1 more in this series because they're capable. They're young. They're hungry. Like you said, they don't know better. All they know is just grind it out, do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's true, and they have. And I think I actually have them like for 4, like Utah in 4. I wish I could say Utah in 5, but I really was like, nah, I didn't see it. And the fact that the Grizzlies have surprised me and shown this much, it's like, just like you said, wow. And yeah, once Jaron Jackson gets together, you already see Dylan Brooks at 25 doing what he's doing. You know, you got some young rotation guys, you know, Xavier Tillman, you know, DeAnthony Melton, guys like that, Desmond Bane, Grayson Allen's been big for them. You know, these guys are all young and growing together, kind of finding their roles. You kind of have that number 1, number 2 option kind of sorted out. Just grow these guys in together. Kyle Anderson, you know, being a little older of a veteran. Same with Jonas Valanciunas, you know, late 20s, but still being able to be in this roster and just seeing how they're shaping up. It's really dope to see.
Facts, man, facts. And one last series here that we'll touch on. I'm trying to hit some of the series I didn't talk about last night on the other podcast. But this one is it's our boy Luka, man. It's our boy Luka and the Mavs versus the Clips. That series has blown up NBA Twitter, ignited it, because anytime the Clippers are involved, you know what's going on. If the Clippers are trending, they're blowing it, because that's how it's been for how many years? Like half a decade or more. Now that they've been in positions, they've just come up short. This might be the worst one of them all. Like this might be worse than blowing 3-1, like losing in the first round with a retooled roster and like a luxury tax payment and all these other things that really demonstrate how committed these guys were to winning a championship, and yet they're in this position. So part of it is Luka mania. Like the dude's just a stud. I get shades of LeBron, because when I look at the fact that he's an underdog in this series, that he has a team, like a supporting cast that's good, but not like great. He doesn't have any like, all-star players alongside him. Yeah. I get the LeBron kind of scenario. He's kind of like, I wouldn't say he's like by himself, but he's leading a team that's, some, mismatched role players and, underdog and coming back from like a, almost like almost insurmountable kind of scenario. I see that, and I see a career arc similar to LeBron, where he just continues to just push the boundaries of what's possible and just be a lethal scorer and distributor. That's what makes Luka so dangerous, and what makes this series so fun. I don't want to see the Clippers blow it. I think their fan base has been enough already, but either way, man, it's going to be exciting to see, and I think the Clippers still have a chance here. I don't think they're done fighting back. I think they got something else up their sleeve.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think that, just quoting first about what you compared Luka with LeBron back then, I agree. I mean, even down to, a young, like a roster that, like you said, has some pieces here and there, kind of mismatched, not really ideal to like really have that full supporting cast. And the guy that was cast as a second option isn't exactly a perfect fit for the main guy. You look at Kristaps Porzingis with Luka, look back at Larry Hughes, with LeBron. In theory, a good second banana, but in actuality, not as much. There's just some differences in how they play, or some deficiencies in the game that don't really work so well, where that A1 player has to take on more of a load than they probably should. And so I definitely see that. But the fact that right now they're going crazy, the Mavericks are shooting that 3. The fact that Luka is not bothered by any matchup. He was 3 of 6, 8 points on Kawhi Leonard on the times that they had when they actually went head to head. Other than that, just get a switch on literally anyone else, and he is good to go. Pat Beverly, yep, that badgering that Pat Beverly does is just ineffective on Luka, and Luka's been talking that trash too. I mean, the bombing threes, it's been crazy. And then other Mavericks have stepped up. Kristaps been solid. Tim Hardaway Jr. earned himself some money. I definitely want to see our projections on that, because that dude's getting some change. Sure. Look at these other guys stepping up, and this was in LA. So role players playing better at home, and now you head home. Yeah, I think the Clippers have something up their sleeve. I don't think they're going to get swept. I will say that as a Lakers fan, I'm happy to see them get. If they get, that's just sweet to me. I'm
I
not
know
going
you
to
don't
play.
mind at all. You're just like, hey, if it happens, it
Yeah,
happens, right?
exactly. I'm like Drago in Rocky right now. Exactly. Like at this point, no, I root for chaos, and I'm not a Clippers fan. And like they had all this talk, all this stuff this year. Ty Lue played. Ty Lue's a different coach. They're adopting that more better, different offensive identity. They knock down threes at just a historic clip. And it's funny because I laugh at something that it's not at all related to the series. A lot of the series boils down to Dallas making more shots than the Clippers. But I can't help but think if the Clippers do go off this way, that Doc Rivers was interviewed like early in the season about like, loose question about comparisons to him and Ty Lue and everything. Now Doc Rivers said, hey, when I was in that series, Ty Lue was sitting right next to me. Like,
That's true. That's true.
And that made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, same here, man. It's just hilarious. I think the Clippers kind of make a hole for themselves. They bury themselves when they say all these things like, "Oh, we're gonna be, a way better team," and all this other stuff. Like just kind of trying to just convince people that you're different. This is different. Like this isn't last year and things like that. I believe it to an extent. Like I think they wouldn't be. I didn't think this would happen at all.
Me neither. I thought they'd won this one in 5.
Yeah, for sure. But nevertheless, I think what makes this series so compelling is the fact that both teams are like being historically efficient. Series averages right now has Dallas at 120 points per game, the Clippers at 112, and they're almost even in rebounds and assists for the teams. But then you look at the leading scorers. Kawhi is averaging 33.5 per game in this series so far. Luka's averaging 35. Luka is almost averaging a triple-double, 8.5 rebounds, 9 assists. Kawhi is at 8 rebounds, 4.5 assists. The offense is out of this world. And if we look back to last season, it's like the Mavericks were the best offense in league history. And then we go to this season, the Clippers were the best shooting team, I believe, in history, at least when you look at like 3-point percentage. So these are two teams that have a track record of being some of the best scoring teams, most efficient teams. And we're seeing that. Neither team can stop the other one. It's just like you said, Mavericks are making a few more shots, a little more efficient down the stretch. They're hitting those daggers. THJ hit the dagger in game 2, and that's what makes the difference. So I was talking to my friend last night about it, and I think it just comes down to who's going to D up because they're both going to be capable of hitting shots, but somebody has to lock in. And whoever locks in, that's the person that's going to come out on top in this series. But either way, I think Luka has already done more than expected. They've already taken 2 games. So even if they lose the next 4, I think, he's really made a name for himself in this team. And I think if they can make some slight upgrades to this Mavs roster, they're a contender. Like they're that close with Luka being this good. That's all they need. And there's going to be options to make that happen. So, this is just the beginning for the Mavericks. And this could be the end for the Clippers. They could be, phasing out. They could be in trouble with Kawhi hitting free agency. A lot of questions and not a lot of time to answer them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're in an 0-2 hole, and it's kind of concerning to hear, Ty Lue and Paul George say, they just know not really a sense of urgency, or, they still have to win 4. And it's like, actually, correction, y'all have to win 4.
Yeah,
the Mavericks have to win 2. Like there is that there. And so you hope to see that fight come through. If not, the offseason is going to be full of plenty of questions. It's going to make it a lot more entertaining from a fan perspective and just roster construction perspective, like what goes wrong, what do we do now? But just in general, I mean, it's going to be a series ahead. I still think, you're still going back. The Clippers are going to have some fight in them. They don't want to be embarrassed like this again. Kawhi Leonard's already been out of this world already, and the Mavericks, I think, have been interesting. They've been content to let Kawhi and Paul George go off. We have guys who can cover you as best as we have, in Maxi Kleber, in a THJ or Josh Richardson mostly. And if that doesn't work, well, that's what we got. We're not going to go and sell up the farm to stop you 2, knowing that we can't do that. We'll just focus on y'all and then try to mitigate the others. And we saw that in game 2. Kawhi, 41, Paul George, 28. And then Reggie Jackson, 15 points on 12 shots. No one else on the team got double digits on points or shot attempts. And that worked for the Mavericks. So, it's little stuff in between the margins as well, aside from, of course, unsustainably hot 3-point shooting.
Yeah, for sure, man. Battle of offenses, and we'll see who can sustain it. And that's going to be kind of like the difference maker in this series.
Yeah.
But that about wraps up our conversation for today. There's 8 series total, but it's pretty difficult to touch on all of them. And some of them are less competitive than others, so we kind of have to be a little more selective in what we talk about. But regardless, man, great time with you. Thanks again for joining me. Always a pleasure to talk ball with you. Wish you the best with your podcast, your projects you got going on, and I hope we can get this going a little bit more at Summer League. Summer League is back this year, so I think it's a good time to get some people linked up and get some stuff going in person. So appreciate
That'd be fun.
Man.
Looking forward to it, man. Thank you for having me, bro. I appreciate it. And yeah, man, same to you. I can't wait.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So let the people know what you got going on, where they can find you on Twitter if they want to get involved with you.
Oh yeah, so at Corbin NBA, usually standing for Russell Westbrook, Anthony Edwards, or inefficient shot creators. But listen, aside from that, I'm really just I'm really a big basketball fan in general. Love talking about it. Do a podcast called Ramble, basically pretty much a daily show recapping the night that was in the NBA news, my own perspective, and then also and that's with the Hoop Ball podcast network, and then also Spanning the Spurs with the Hoop Heads podcast network, where it's all about the San Antonio Spurs. So got those things going on right now. But aside from that, just taking all the ball I can. People like us, the fanatics here. I mean, I look at Aaron as even more than me, but just in terms of someone who's like really big on the game, that's what you'll find on my Twitter.
Nice, man. Be sure to get linked up with Corbin. He's got a lot going on over there, guys. For Business Casual, we keep it pretty busy over here too. We're back with the pods this week. We have a blog and other resources at bcbasketball.info. And then BC Basketball 2 is our social media. We're going to have a lot more going on with that as the playoffs come along and as the free agency period is not too far away here in the coming months. So thanks, guys, for tuning in again. Be sure to stay locked on Business Casual as you have more coming your way. And enjoy the rest of these playoffs. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll be back real soon with more NBA playoff analysis. Take care, everybody.